Welcome to Simpson's Grand Divan in London. The year is 1851, and we are witnessing a friendly battle between Adolf Anderssen, a mathematics teacher from Breslau, and Lionel Kieseritzky, a professional player from Paris. Anderssen starts by advancing his pawn to e4, claiming central space. Kieseritzky accepts the invitation with e5, establishing his own central stronghold. In this romantic era, chess was played with a passion for head-on battle, rather than dry positional maneuver. Anderssen offers the king's gambit, sacrificing his f-pawn. White aims to deflect black's central pawn, build a strong pawn center, and open the f-file for his rook. Kieseritzky captures the pawn on f4, accepting the gambit. In the mid-19th century, declining a gambit was often seen as a faint sign of cowardice. By taking the pawn, black accepts a doubled f-pawn. Black's strategic hope is to hold on to this extra material while exploiting any weaknesses around white's kingside. Anderssen plays the bishop's gambit, placing his bishop on c4 to target the weak f7 pawn. He deliberately leaves h4 open, inviting black's queen to deliver check. Kieseritzky takes the bait, checking on h4. This forces white's king to move, but the black queen stands exposed, and white will soon gain time by attacking her. Anderssen steps his king to f1, losing castling rights. However, his king remains safe, and white is compensated by rapid piece mobilization. Kieseritzky counterattacks with Brian's counter gambit, sacrificing a flank pawn on b5 to deflect the white bishop from its dangerous diagonal. Anderssen accepts the counter challenge, capturing on b5. White is now a pawn up on the queen side, but his bishop is drawn away from c4. Black develops his knight to f6, attacking the white pawn on e4 to prepare central activity. Anderssen develops his knight to f3, attacking the black queen with a tempo. White's development is starting to surge. Kieseritzky retreats his queen to h6, a passive square, where she hampers black's overall piece development and restricts black's own knight. White plays the pawn to d3, solidifying the e4 pawn and opening up a path for the dark-squared bishop to join the attack. Anderssen is building a solid d3-e4 pawn chain that controls the center, while preparing to recapture the gambit pawn on f4.
Kieseritzky moves his knight to h5. This is a highly provocative move that violates classical opening principles by placing a knight on the rim. The immediate tactical threat is to leap his knight to g3 with check, exploiting the pin on the white h-pawn. Anderssen answers with the knight jumping to h4. This move is incredibly deep. It completely neutralizes the threat of a check on g3, and prepares to jump the white knight into the magnificent f5 outpost. White is seizing the initiative with energetic piece play. Black slides his queen to g5, attacking the white knight on h4, and trying to keep the h5 knight defended. The black queen continues to wander around the board, searching for safety, while white's pieces coordinate beautifully. The white knight leaps into the spectacular f5 outpost. This is an absolute beast of a piece, exerting immense pressure on the dark squares, restricting black's kingside, and making it difficult for black to coordinate. Kieseritzky plays the pawn to c6, attacking the white bishop on b5. He hopes to drive the bishop away and blunt the pressure on his queenside, but this slow pawn move does nothing to help his lagging piece development. Anderssen responds with a wild, hyper-aggressive pawn push to g4. He defends his knight on f5 and counterattacks the black knight on h5, completely ignoring the threat to his bishop on b5. This is romantic chess at its finest, where tactical initiative is valued far above material safety. Black's knight is forced to retreat to f6, as capturing on g4 would lose material, and open up lines of attack for white. The pressure on black's kingside is starting to become suffocating. Anderssen plays his rook to g1. This is a profound moment. White offers his bishop on b5 as a sacrifice, to gain time and open up lines of attack. In the game, Kieseritzky greedily accepted the bishop, but What if black had played the much stronger defensive move, pushing the pawn to h5? By playing the pawn to h5, black could have directly challenged white's kingside pawn structure, opening up defensive resources on the h-file. If white responded by pushing his own pawn to h4, the black queen could retreat safely to g6, giving black a resilient, highly playable position. Let's see what happened when black took the bishop instead. But Kieseritzky could not resist the free piece. He captured the bishop. Black greedily captures the bishop on b5. Failing to foresee the storm that is about to hit his queen,
Anderssen immediately strikes back with h4. He attacks the black queen, initiating a forced sequence to trap and suffocate black's most powerful piece. The black queen is forced to retreat to g6, which is her only available square on the board. White continues the chase, pushing the pawn to h5. Anderssen gains another valuable developmental tempo, driving the black queen further into a corner. The queen has no choice but to step back to g5, completely surrounded by white's advancing pawns. Anderssen plays a beautiful, quiet queen move to f3. White threatens to play the dark-squared bishop to f4, capturing the pawn and attacking the black queen again. The black queen is completely suffocated in the center of the board. Kieseritzky is forced to make a humiliating retreat, undeveloping his knight back to g8. This is the only way to clear an escape path for his trapped queen, but it leaves black's development in absolute ruins. Anderssen's dark-squared bishop captures the pawn on f4 with a tempo, attacking the black queen once more. White has achieved an overwhelming lead in development, with all minor pieces coordinated beautifully. The black queen retreats to f6, trying to stay active and eyeing the white pawn on b2. Anderssen develops his knight to c3. He completely ignores the threat to the b2 pawn, prioritizing rapid development and piece coordination over material defense. Kieseritzky develops his dark-squared bishop to c5, aiming at the f2 square and trying to get some of his pieces into the game, before it is too late. The white knight leaps to d5 with a tempo, attacking the black queen and preparing a devastating fork on c7. Black captures the pawn on b2. This is a deeply greedy and risky capture. The black queen attacks the rook on a1 and threatens to capture the c2 pawn, but she is completely isolated from the defense of her own king. Before we see the magnificent move that Anderssen played, let's look at a safer, more positional alternative. White could have played the solid rook to e1. If white simply slides the rook to e1, protecting the e-file and keeping the king completely safe, black's development remains slow. White can comfortably consolidate a winning advantage without any tactical risks. But Anderssen is playing for beauty. He completely ignores the threat to his rooks and plays the shocking bishop to d6.
Anderssen unleashes one of the most famous moves in chess history, bishop to d6. White offers both of his rooks as bait to build a mating net. He prevents black from playing d6 to free their development and creates a powerful obstruction on the d-file. Now, how should black defend? In the game, Kieseritzky took the rook on g1 immediately. If he had instead captured the rook on a1 with check first, forcing the white king to e2, and then retreated his queen to b2, he could have put up a much sturdier resistance. But in the heat of battle, Kieseritzky fell for the temptation. But Kieseritzky did not find this sturdier defense. He took the rook on g1 immediately. Kieseritzky captures the rook on g1, accepting the first major sacrifice. Anderssen pushes his pawn to e5. This is a critical move. It completely cuts off the black queen's diagonal access to f7 and g7, sealing black's king in a mating net. Kieseritzky finally captures the rook on a1 with check. The white king steps to e2. It is perfectly safe here, and black has no more useful checks. White is down 2 full rooks and a bishop, but black's massive army is completely uncoordinated and useless. Before we see the game continuation of the knight developing, let's look at how black could have saved themselves, with the bishop to a6 instead. By playing the bishop to a6, black prepares to develop their queenside and activate their remaining pieces, though white's attack remains overwhelming. White delivers a check with the knight on c7. the black king must step to d8. White's knight captures the bishop on a6, and black can fight on with an active and complex game. But Kieseritzky played the knight to a6 instead, which allows a beautiful forced mate in 3. Pause the video and see if you can find it. Kieseritzky plays the knight to a6, trying to defend the c7 square and get a piece out. But this is the final blunder, and allows Anderssen to weave a spectacular mating net. Here is the solution. Anderssen begins the mating sequence by leaping his knight to g7 with check, forcing the black king to step to d8. The black king has only one square and must step to d8. And now, the legendary queen sacrifice. Anderssen plays the queen to f6 with check. He offers his queen to force the black knight away from its defensive post, covering e7. Kieseritzky has no choice but to capture the queen with the knight.
Checkmate! The dark-squared bishop slides to e7, delivering the final blow. The black king is completely smothered by its own pieces, the rook on h8, the bishop on c8, and the pawns on d7 and f7. What a magnificent masterpiece of geometric coordination! Let's reflect on the core educational takeaways of this immortal encounter. First, material is merely a secondary form of currency in chess. The ultimate values are time and piece activity. White sacrificed a bishop, both of his rooks, and finally his queen, yet his remaining 3 minor pieces achieved perfect harmony to deliver checkmate, while black's massive material advantage lay completely useless and undeveloped. Second, king safety is paramount. Kieseritzky's early queen wandering and pawn grabbing compromised his king's safety, allowing Anderssen to seize a devastating and unstoppable initiative.